on the suit. Drink water. Don't drink and drive.
Game over!
Take it light.
Now you're more fluent.
He's got three!
Up, Bears. So this is really good right here. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Welcome back, Texas Rangers with the boys. We are the boys, your daily Texas Rangers podcast by a couple of pro wrestlers who love Rangers baseball. We want to thank you for making us the first listen of your day. This is your boy Kev, a.k.a. YBK, Kevin Frazier, coming in pumped, coming in hot, excited. Rangers off of a 3-game sweep of a Tampa Bay Rays team who's dealing with some of the same problems that the Rangers are dealing with themselves. But Rangers show a sense of urgency that we've kind of been looking for all year, maybe even fear a little bit here with this team, maybe even a little fear just around the club in general. We'll talk a little bit about that. We will talk about what's going on with, just these pitchers that are recovering from Tommy John surgery. So we'll talk a little DeGrom. We'll talk a little Molly. We might even talk a little Kumar Rocker. And we'll tell you about a couple of Rangers who'd made the All-Star team going into the big All-Star weekend. And we'll also talk about a topic that nobody wants to talk about, but we need to talk about it because it's Texas Rangers, and that's what we do. And we're going to cover 3 box scores, and really those are going to probably be 3 of the most fun box scores we've done all year long. But before we talk any about that, let me tell you about where we're at on social media, TX Rangers WTB. Don't forget to check that website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
All one word.
And don't forget to check us out right here on the Sports Fluent Network on YouTube. You can just go into that search bar and search Texas Rangers with the Boys. We'll pop up right there. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see our made for radio faces here on YouTube. Thanks to all of our subscribers across all platforms. Joining me as always, my co-host, the man with more Rangers hats than almost anybody I know. The man whose beard, it barely fits on the screen. The 300-pound manimal, a.k.a. Bull. How you doing, buddy? Where can they find you on these socials of the medias?
Well, I'm doing good. We got through the weekend. The Rangers look good for a weekend. They've been hitting the baseball a little bit harder. It seems like that fun number, that BABIP, has went up some this week, so that's good to see from a Rangers team that had been really struggling to get the ball down when they do get it in play. We've seen hard hit balls most of this year, but they've seemed to have been at people a lot of the times, and we're starting to see them find alleys, and that's been a whole lot of fun. As for me, I am doing fine as always, getting ready for the All-Star game is coming up here. Kevin swears that we're going to that thing, but we'll see. I know I'll probably go to the Futures game on Saturday night just because that's, I got nothing else to do, and that's probably more my speed, but we'll see how the All-Star thing goes. As far as social medias, you can find me on Twitter at ManimalBull, Instagram Manimal300, and both Facebook and TikTok at Bull Pro. So whatever your favorite line of the social medias are, get at me on there, and we'll start talking about the Texas Rangers, this 3-game sweep. What are they going to do at the deadline? Where are they going to be? Things can change so much in the matter of these next 20 days for the Texas Rangers. So we will just have to continue to wait and see. We've got some, the All-Star break coming up. The Rangers don't have a whole lot of guys going this year, so everybody's going to get that 4-day break for the most part, and hopefully that that's a beneficiary this year, where last year they had a whole bunch of guys go to the All-Star break, and they kind of struggled a little bit after the All-Star break. You could kind of see that fatigue, but at the end of the day, they won a World Series, so who am I to say anything about that? But baseball, like I always say, they're going to play 162 of them no matter what. So let's gear in and hope that the Rangers start putting things together like they did this weekend, and we see some of those extra base hits rub off. Tampa Bay seems like they're about like watching the Rangers every night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
The things that happen with the Rangers kind of happen to them. Like like the Rays outrangered the Rangers all
They
weekend.
did. They really did.
I mean, I'm not saying that the Rangers didn't win some ball games,
Right,
but
right.
I mean, the Rangers still looked like the seventh inning. I mean, every seventh inning of this game, except for, or every seventh inning, it seems like the Rangers run into a bunch of trouble. They ran into some trouble with Leclerc and Latz in that first game, but they worked around it with no issues. That second game, the 3-run homer that Latz gave up there, and you're thinking, man, here we go again. This is a game that they should have won, and then they got some runs in the bottom half of the seventh, and that hadn't happened a whole lot. But we're going to talk about all that later. But yeah, the Rays seem like they're as infuriating to watch as the Rangers on most nights because there's some really good players on that team. Rosarina, Yandy Diaz, Isaac Paredes. There are some really, really talented guys over there on that Rays team. And those young pitchers, we'll talk about them, but they're starting to get a little healthy there in that category. So, they're going to be fun. It's just they're just it seems like they're a lot like the Rangers, where when they're having fun and playing well, things are going good, but there's just not enough of it going on right at the moment for it to be good.
Well, I'm not going to let you bait me into talking any baseball with you. I'll just let you sit there and go and go and go because I know the minute I try to say anything about baseball, you're going to butt in and tell me about Matt War Pro. So why don't you just do your thing?
Are we still doing that? Okay, Matt War Pro, Friday, July 26th at the Southside Preservation Hall. Matt War Pro is back. It's going to be a big time. It's going to be a big show. Can't wait for it. There's going to be a bunch of big matches, bunch of big heavyweights. We've got mixed tag matches. We've got some women's matches. We've got some heavyweight matches. We've got some cruiserweight matches. It's going to be a big time at the Southside Preservation Hall on Friday, July 26th. That's just the wrestling. Now let's get into the fun part. We're going to have Kelly's Onion Burgers out there smashing up the burgers. We're going to have Starry's Ice Cream with all the delicious dessert treats. And you're going to need some ice cream on July 26th in Texas. That's a given. And our friends at Martin House Brewing, they're going to bring all the brews over from the brewery. And you can have as many of them as you want for free, as long as you can prove that you're 21 years of age or older. It's going to be a big time at the Southside Preservation Hall. I suggest you don't miss it.
I suggest you don't either. I think it's going to be a good time out there.
Yeah, and Ultraviolet Dreamers is going to be a good show.
Ultraviolet Dreamers. It's going to be a hypothermia mania. So, let's get into it. Rangers 6 back in the West, probably 2 months. The best the Rangers have looked in this division position so far. A lot of other teams that have better records or that people are more excited about are further back in their own respective divisions. So Rangers not in the worst place in the world, but I still think we really need to see some life from this team before the trade deadline comes around, or we'll talk about this a little later. There might be some major changes.
It's a little bit funny that the Rangers they are 6 games back now. They're, and it's the Rangers are in sell mode, and there's a bunch of teams that are 6 games back where I just watched the whole thing on how the Red Sox should be buyers at the deadline, how the Cardinals should be buyers at the deadline, how the Padres will be buyers at the deadline. And these teams are in the same place as the Texas Rangers. And I think the Rangers are in a better spot in the situation they are with having both Molly and DeGrom coming off of the IL. Josh Young going to make it back at some point in the next couple of weeks. So to me, I feel like the Rangers aren't really in this panic mode that national media is kind of trying to make it seem to be. But at the same time, I mean, if I were Chris Young, if I were the Rangers, I would definitely let people know that if things don't trend north for us in the next couple of weeks, that Max Scherzer may be available, that David Robertson, that Kirby Yates, that Andrew Heaney, John Gray, these guys that are on expiring contracts, that they may be available, yes. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be available. It doesn't mean that the Rangers are on their way to selling. It just means that those are possibilities that could happen if things don't change. And really, honestly, this weekend, we saw more change for the Texas Rangers than we had in a while because they make up a couple of games on the Mariners. They are in a better spot now than they were last week at this time when we were talking about them. And that's coming off of 2 out of 3 losses to the Padres, but still a 4-2 homestand. So you're starting to see some changes, but it doesn't mean that we've been excited about this before, about the Rangers having a sweep on a Sunday night or on a Sunday night, just like tonight, where we were excited about what was going to happen. And then they went to Seattle and just the whole thing fell apart. So, they're going to Los Angeles. They're getting on a plane heading to Los Angeles. The Angels are struggling a little bit as well. So, if I'm the Rangers, I'm looking at, hey, we got to get 2 out of 3 against the Angels and go to Houston and do the same thing and work our way into the All-Star break with another 4-2. And you're starting to feel good about things going into the All-Star break. But, if for some unforeseen reason this turns into a 2-4, 1-5 road trip, well, we're probably next week at this time talking about selling again.
Yeah, and I mean rightfully so. And I don't think there's anything really wrong with that. I mean, we're already here. We might as well talk about it. I didn't read the story, but Evan Grant and one of the guys that we both look at a lot on the Twitter. I want to say it's like Rangers rumors or something like Texas Rangers news or whatnot, and just chatting a little bit about the possibility of the Rangers not only being sellers at the All-Star break, but possibly making a major down cut, like a cut down in the salary next year. Yeah, I mean this is like, to me, like that's a huge worst case scenario, because I really don't think the Rangers are in a perfect spot to completely reload next year and do exactly what they did last year. And what's the point? I mean, of all of the work that they put to come from 90 wins to win a World Series, you get Seager, you get Semien, you get all these pieces in place, and you got guys with years. I mean, you got a ton of them, and you got Lowe coming back on an arbitration. You've got Heim coming back on arbitration. You've got Garcia coming back on arbitration. You're getting great deals on these
Garcia's
players.
under contract.
Well, that's all right. I'm sorry. You're right, because they signed him for 2 years. So, like the thought that the Rangers are not only going to not be buying in the free agent market next year, but also possibly not re-signing some of these guys to their arbitration years. It just seems preposterous to me because of the window. Because it's not like if they don't have a great year this year that they're not totally capable of turning everything right back around next year and having a great year. And wouldn't you think that this team would want to push as hard as they can with $500 million committed to 2 veteran players during their prime years, and with the Jacob deGrom contract? To me, if that's the plan, if that's what you're going to do, you might as well ship those guys out as soon as possible, because there's no point in having, $700 million.
You got 7 years of Corey
Seager.
Seager left. Then
Yeah,
you've
5 of
got
Semien,
5 years,
4
4
of
years
deGrom.
with Simeon and 4 years with DeGrom behind this one.
Yeah,
I don't know that ever could cross your mind. I mean, unless you do plan on trading those guys, which I feel like, what's the point of spending that money and bringing those guys in? And I feel like Corey Seager and Jacob deGrom and probably Marcus Semien, if you do want to send those contracts away, you're going to have to pay some of them.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just going to be able to get rid of these 300, 150, I'd imagine Marcus Semien still owed somewhere north of 100 million after this year. And I would imagine that Corey Seager is still over 225 or so over the course of the next 8. And then DeGrom at 25 plus. I mean, teams if they may take those talents on, but they're not going to pick up those contracts and pick all of it up. I mean, remember when Max Scherzer came here from the Mets, I mean, the Rangers did that with the idea that last year the Mets were going to pick up the whole contract, and this year the Rangers are picking up everything but $12.5 million.
Mhm.
So sure, you can trade it off and you can send those guys away, but it's not going to make it any cheaper on your club. It's not going to make the franchise any less worth any more or less money
Yep.
because you're still going to have those hits against your, against your
Well,
team.
and just remember, like their attendance right now is probably the best that it's probably ever been.
I would agree that they should hit 2.5 to 3 million this year on attendance, and I mean that's going to go right back down if the Rangers aren't winning. And I mean
And the
they're kind of
merchandise and
living they're living off a bunch of tickets that were sold in December after the World Series.
yeah, and
I mean
now
I'm not.
and how if you don't have a long-term contract with a TV deal, like how do you expect to upgrade that situation with
Well,
a
and I
team that
think
doesn't have the interest,
I think it's even more concerning to the fact that the Rangers here are halfway through and they're 4 months past the Bally's decision, and they have nothing that's even close to on the table for anybody to know about TV wise. That's
Right.
almost as concerning as the fact that we're talking about selling off. But I can't imagine. Well, I mean, like Jonah Heim hasn't even reached his arbitration years yet. Leody Tavares, those guys haven't even reached their arbitration
Duran,
years. Josh Smith, Ezekiel Duran, those guys are, I mean, they're still a ways away. The only guy that I really could see that the Rangers could non-tender this year and it be almost a non-move that you could upgrade with would be Nate Lowe. But then you look at the Rangers and like their options at first base behind him. The only way that could really work is if you're planning on using Josh Young at first base in the future.
yeah, and the at the end of the day, the contract, the money that you're paying Low to the production is still a great it's still a great value. No, you're
Yeah, I
not
think he's
getting
making
Bryce Harper
12 this
numbers.
year or something like that. But
You're
I
not
mean,
getting Bryce Harper numbers, but you're not paying $30 million either.
yeah, he's not making $39.5 million either. So, but at the same time, you're also talking about a guy that has been coming on, and you know how hard it is to look at one portion of the season for a guy and get a feel on how he was that season as a player. And I mean, he's coming out of it. You're starting to see some power. You're starting to see some RBIs. You're starting to see those things that we have seen in the past from Nate Lowe. But at the same time, I mean, you're going to have decisions to make on either Josh Smith or Josh Young when it comes time for that. Josh Young allows you to spell low against tough lefties. But then you're going to have Josh Smith in the lineup that way. They're in a position that will probably work its way out completely.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I mean, it's probably one of the better positions to be in instead of a bad position to be in, because normally having more Major League Baseball players that can compete on your team is better than not having.
Yes.
I mean, I'd rather have all of those guys over Jankowski, Grossman, any of those guys, put them at those positions, whatever, I mean,
Right.
like right now, I mean, no offense to those guys. I love Jankowski and Grossman both. They've been a big part of what the Rangers have done. But right now, those are not the guys that are going to help this thing win right now, because they've proven in the opportunities that they've had that they aren't those guys right now.
Right. And I also think I mean, if this team is not going to, if this organization, let me say team, not team, organization is going to not quote unquote try to be competitive. I mean, are you going to keep, is Bruce Bochy going to want to stay around? I mean, why does he need to be here if the team's going to be? And those are your big concerns, is just what do these big time contracts decide at that point? And is that ownership's plan? I mean, in reality, I mean, is that the plan? I mean, yeah, I don't know, but when I read all that, I just thought to myself, this sounds preposterous, but
it's an interesting talk, and you could talk yourself into it.
Yeah,
you can absolutely
when you're
talk
talking
yourself
about
into it.
greedy billionaire corporate people, listen,
Absolutely.
brother. They're looking at, they're counting beans, man. That's what they're looking at. Oh, if I take this here, I take this here, that's going to add an extra so and so $1 million to my bonus, so I can pay off my yacht. I mean, it's a real thing. So I definitely wouldn't put it past them, but at the same time, I feel like it's out there and we need to talk about it. If it's out there on Twitter land, and some of the biggest beat writers and some of the biggest names that do report credibly for this team are having this conversation, then I feel like we got to at least address it.
Yeah, and lots of things are possible for sure. And I mean, the changing of, like I've said, it's concerning that there's no TV deal in place yet. It's concerning that we haven't heard anything on that in since the Bally's agreement for 1 year. That's concerning. There's lots of stuff that's concerning about going into this next offseason, and with the idea that the team didn't play up to expectations this year, that can weigh again on Ray Davis's mind. And you're just going to have to. We'll just have to continue to follow.
Don't give Ray Davis an excuse to save money, brother. He'll take it.
Evan Grant ain't just writing this article because Evan Grant's bored.
No, bro, he's not. He's not. Evan Grant loves this team.
He's too good at his job.
Yeah, and he loves his team. Like his tone is the way it should be. It's a concern. Like, he's concerned, and I think that's really good, because if you want to be a big market club, you got to act like it, and you want to be a winner every year. Part of the deal is taking and having seasons where things don't go the way you expect them. Like, talk to the Yankee fans about that. Like, that's just part of being a big market club, is having seasons that don't go the way you think. The Dodgers are a great example. I mean, they had a horrible outcome to their season last year. Did they break down and fizzle out and take the ball and go home? Hell no. No, they doubled down on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they doubled down and said, no, we're gonna put.
And if it happens again this year, you know what they're gonna do in the offseason? They're gonna double down, because now they've got 3 of the best players in Major League Baseball, and they can add to it, and they're going to try and get better. I think you're right. I mean, I think it is something that we're going to have to be concerned with as Rangers fans. But at the same time, someday Ray Davis has got to understand that there's 10 million people in the Metroplex, and that this is not a small market franchise. No. You cannot do this. Like you cannot do here what Oakland is doing. You can't do here what Miami is doing. You have to have a baseball. I mean, like the reasons that Miami gets away with that is because all the people down there are New York Yankee fans that, so they get away with that. So,
well,
but anyways.
I wanted to bring up one quick statement that it came down to like a question or just a statement or a talking point, and we don't have to belabor it today, but I think it's something to keep an eye on. Like it feels what it did for me was think like, man, is it now or never? Like, is this do we need to get this crap together? Does this team really need to pull together and turn it around? Or are we looking at a now or never situation where if this thing doesn't turn around, we as fans are in a position where, the leverage, the ownership, I think there's just an element right now with this team of a fear, an element of we better get it together. Because the urgency over the weekend and the amount of focus that we saw from this Rangers team over the weekend was something we haven't seen all year long. It was definitely a different feel to everything. And again, I mean, it didn't happen to them this weekend. They happened to it, and that's a big difference.
I think you kind of answered the question in the same sense, right? Like you saw that sense of urgency, and there's nobody that's dumb in that locker room. There's nobody that doesn't understand what's going on, and they all know, they see that the writing on the wall can be, this thing gets semi blown up here in the next couple of weeks. And man, I mean, the answer is probably yes. Because if this thing does take a turn for the worse and it doesn't end up righting itself within the next 3 months or whatever we've got left of baseball season, we could be on the verge of what happened after 16, where the Rangers completely pinched pennies and 17 was kind of competitive. 18 wasn't very good. We thought maybe the farm was coming along in 19. 20 ended up being a disaster. 21, they were one of the worst teams in baseball. They spent some money. 22, not bad, but not good by any means. And then, so we could be in for that again and it'll mean the end of Bochy, Mad Dog, all those guys will be gone, and you'll have a new manager that we'll hate because he
He's not
looks at his
Bochy.
iPad and
He's not Bochy.
I think I feel like Texas is kind of like when you look at their managers and the ones that are successful here, it's guys that are go from your heart managers, and it was Washington and Johnny Oates and Bobby Valentine, and those were the guys that they liked because they went they went with their gut, and Bochy's that same kind of guy. Let's not act like Bochy isn't exactly in tune with all the stats and all of that stuff, but at the end of the day, these are the guys I got. I'm going to go with them. I'm confident in them. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to be the first one to defend them.
Well, let's take a quick left turn here and let's talk about some good news.
Yeah, we got to talk about the All-Star selection.
Yeah. So Rangers get 2 All-Stars in, Kirby Yates and Marcus Semien. Gosh, man, if Semien's in that, if fantasy baseball taught me anything, is that there's like no second baseman in Major League Baseball really to talk about. It's Marte, Semien, Altuve, and that's it.
Nolan Gorman, because he hits a bunch of home runs.
Yeah, and he's a new one,
Yeah.
But Semien gets in, Yates gets in. Kind of surprised Seager didn't get in there just off of name. But a lot of good shortstops in MLB baseball right now.
And don't be surprised if Semien or Seager isn't in before all is said and done.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
Actually, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Because you kind of want him to be your showcase piece of, But for Yates, totally deserving. Marcus Semien's been the best second baseman defensively, and I don't know how long. I mean, I thought what Jimenez did last year was impressive, but what Semien's doing this year is much more impressive than even what Jimenez did last year. He's been fantastic. 14 plus outs above average. That's insane. That's not. I mean, like the other night when Leclerc was pitching and that ball was hit to second base and he laid out and didn't make the play on it. You're like disappointed. You're like, oh man. Oh, we normally get that play from Semien. And that's like a hard play. Like that is not like a play that you should be like, oh, Semien should have made that play.
Yeah.
So he's just been fantastic. Kirby Yates you have an ERA under 1 with as much work as Yates has done this first half of the season. And being put in every pressure situation that you can possibly be put in and being the back end closer guy and being, both whip and ERA under 1. You're an all-star. I thought the Rangers, maybe Lorenzen could have been an all-star. I thought he's been good enough to be an all-star. But yeah, Josh Smith may be a little bit of a snub, but you knew just the fact that this is a
name game,
a scrap heap player at the beginning of the year. So I understand that. And if Josh Smith can do it again for another 3 months and then 2 months at the beginning, or 3 months at the beginning of the year next year, he can absolutely be an all-star next year. But yeah, that's part of it. That's part of, remember, I heard this whole thing about Luka Doncic needed to have a good playoff run so he could be regular season MVP. But he needed it the year before. Has to be that year before. Then the next year, then they'll, so whatever, same thing, Major League Baseball All-Star. After Jose Ramirez, probably Josh Smith has probably been the second best third baseman in the American League.
Yeah, but Ramirez is MVP candidate. I mean,
he's definitely been good, and he's been leading that Cleveland team on a real surprise run. I mean, him and Stephen Kwan and
best team in the league.
Yeah, that's crazy with the Naylor brothers, and they got something good going in Cleveland right now.
Well, let's quick 3 pitching news. Tommy John news,
Tommy
basically.
John news.
Tommy
Yeah,
John news. Molly goes on
DeGrom.
Tuesday. Rocker, he pitched. He had his 2 innings on Friday. Everything went well with him. And then Jacob DeGrom threw a bullpen.
Rocker will start there. Sitting 98. Top at 99. He did give up a solo home run, but for the most part, it was 125 degrees when the game started or something like that. So, we'll see as he moves to the Carolinas and starts pitching in something that's more like baseball weather. But yeah, no, overall 20-ish pitches, exactly what they wanted from him, up and down twice, get on through it. And yeah, that's basically it. I mean, just get on through it and keep moving, and hopefully, he'll be able to push that to 3 or 4 and get up and down 3 or 4 times the next time out with Arizona, and then you might see him at Frisco as ASAP.
Yeah.
And then think about that Frisco bullpen. Think about those Frisco arms with Hales, Owens, Rocker all throwing 100.
Yeah, a lot going on there. And again, we talked about Molly had a couple of innings, everything went okay
hopefully
there.
We'll see him move again and pitch again Tuesday night for probably Frisco, with Round Rock being in Tacoma. But you never know, he may go to Tacoma just because the team's on the West Coast in Los Angeles. So we'll see what they do. He may stay back and stay with Frisco, or he may go with the team to and then head on to Tacoma afterwards. But I would probably think that it would be for Frisco Tuesday or Wednesday, one of those 2 days, depending on what they're trying to do with him. And then DeGrom sitting 90 or touching 98 in his bullpen, starting to throw off-speed pitches. So, hopefully a couple of more bullpens, and we can start right after the All-Star break thinking about DeGrom going out for a rehab assignment and start the process.
Awesome. Well, you brought up that AA Frisco bullpen, and I would be remiss to not talk about the great pitching that they've got at Down East, and the amazing arms that they've got at Hickory. I mean, the pitching right now at those 3 levels is absolutely outrageous, and you've got a ton of arms down there doing a lot of things. And so I think it's with the Jose Cornell injury, we hate to see that, but honestly, all across the board, it's been pretty good altogether for the Rangers in terms of just the health of their minor league pitchers. So all in all, you're seeing a lot of good things happening at that minor league level. And then of course the hitting, not a ton happening. You don't have a ton of hitters right now at the minor league level that are doing a lot of things, but I'll tell you this, the ones that are doing something, we're talking about them. And then that pitching, we talked about it at least for 45 minutes on our exclusive content Down on the Farm with the Boys, where we cover all things Rangers minor league. The rest of the time, I think it's an hour and 15 of just straight baseball.
30 minutes of Rough Riders talk for sure.
At least 30 minutes of just Rough Riders, because at 52-29, that team is something else to talk about.
First half champions of the Texas League. So.
Yeah, and the surprise of the minor leagues this year. So a lot to like about what's happening at the AA level. And again, we talk about all of it on our exclusive content. Look, you can make us your one-stop shop for all things Rangers minor league. You just go over to the website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
Oh, one word.
Or you can go to Spotify. It's just $1.99 a month. And again, you make us your one-stop shop. You only come to us for all your baseball news as it regards to your beloved Texas Rangers. Man, it's funny because it's one place where we can go and you can go, where the woes of the major league team, there's always something exciting happening on the minor league front, and there's always something good to talk about with the development of these young players. So go check it out. You won't regret it. My co-host puts in a ton of time. We're talking hours of time in research. He's got the Saber metrics. He's got the Savant. he's got the, all that stuff going, and he's got all the deets, and I just am along for the ride. And I can tell you more about Rangers minor league baseball because of doing this podcast than I ever have in my life. So go check it out. You won't regret it. Let's get to the really good news for the Texas Rangers. Rangers looked, outside of the seventh inning, the Rangers looked great over the weekend. There was nothing to be desired unless we're talking the seventh inning. There was nothing to be left desired. Rangers won close games. They won blowouts.
Really,
they pitched. They hit. They ran.
Yeah, you saw Friday night, Michael Lorenzen didn't have really his best stuff, but went out there and for 5 innings, 1 hit baseball. He did have 5 walks, which is very uncharacteristic of Michael Lorenzen. So you don't want to look too deep into that. But I think a lot of that could have been just challenging hitters and not getting the swing and miss in the spots that he wanted. But overall, really good outing again from Michael Lorenzen, keeping the team in it. That first inning from Jose Leclerc was okay. Got in and out, got there, and then they sent him back out for another, and then the next first thing walk there, and you're into Lats. Lats had a couple of walks. You're in a bad spot here, and good job from Lats after he walked those 2 guys to get a couple of outs, to get them to Robertson, because Latz was all over the strike zone. He wasn't anywhere close those first couple of batters. And for him to get a couple of balls that didn't get any runs across there in the 7th, Robertson did a good job of coming in to bail him out. I think when we talk about Molly and DeGrom and what those benefits, of course they benefit starting pitching, but how good would the Rangers be this year if John Gray was their 7th inning guy?
Yeah.
Man, I don't mean that in like a degrading way to John Gray, that he doesn't deserve to be in the rotation or anything like that. But right now, if they had John Gray throwing in the 7th inning and knew that it was stacked up with him in the 7th inning, I feel like that, they would be a better team. And I think with Molly coming back here in the next couple of weeks, you may see Gray or Heaney go to that 7th inning role because the Rangers really need it. And I think it may be Gray just because of the fact that Heaney has been so good these last couple of weeks in the rotation. And he's been, just every game that he's went out there, he's thrown well. We'll talk about him throwing well again in this next box score. So, but once they get through the 7th, Robertson good in the 8th, Yates good in the 9th, couple of strikeouts. And the Rangers they did enough at the plate. They had a big RBI double up the alley from Corey Seager, and then Nate Lowe drove him in right behind it. And that was enough to win behind the pitching that they got on Friday night. Lorenzen now 5-4 with a 3.21 ERA. Shane Baz.
Yeah.
I really liked his stuff. You could tell that was his first outing back. But yeah, he's definitely got something, and I'm sure the Rays fans and the Rays organization are happy to have that guy back, because he is a good pitcher, and it was fun to watch. And I'm glad to see him back, because we just talked about prospects. He was about as high on those prospect lists as you could get a couple of years ago before he lost his status. But Yates gets that 12th save, drops that ERA to 0.89.
Man. Yeah, I felt like the Rangers, this was kind of one of those gutsy wins where they had to actually, honestly, like, not beat themselves in this game, because there was opportunities for them to kind of do what they've always done. I say always, but what we've seen a lot this year. Yeah, they kind of had an opportunity to kind of fall into that, and somehow, some way, through pure fortitude, the Rangers figured out a way to do it. And once Robertson came in and kind of slammed the door shut there in that 7th inning, that was huge. And I would say, if things go in the right direction for this team this year, we will be able to kind of bookmark this game and bookmark that 7th inning as hopefully maybe a turning point for the Rangers as a whole, because there was just a lot of guts that the Rangers showed in winning that game on Friday at home in front of their home fans in a time where we really needed it. There's a lot more riding on that game, undertones that we alluded to earlier. To see them come out and do that on a Friday for their home fans was really great, especially.
And a tip of the cap to Jonathan Ornelas for getting that rally started with 2 outs there in the 3rd.
Mm-hmm. With the nice,
right? He had a good weekend. Ornelas did, and he's been pretty sound in the opportunities that he's been getting for the Rangers.
4 hits from 7, 8, 9 on Friday.
That's what you're looking for. They're a better team whenever the bottom of the lineup is setting the table for Seager and Simeon. They're just a better team.
So Rangers win a 3-0 shutout, and then they find themselves right back in a dogfight on Saturday. Tampa is a good team. They just like the Rangers, man. They're just struggling right now.
Like I said, they're probably as frustrating to watch down there in Tampa as the Rangers are here in Texas. Because a first note on Saturday's game, congratulations to Andrew Heaney on strikeout number 1,000 for his career. I think I saw that there's like 556 pitchers all time to have 1,000 strikeouts. So to be on a list where there's only 500 and something of them to ever do it, that's a pretty good list to be on. I don't care if you're number 556 on that list. That's pretty impressive.
It is.
But another really, really solid outing from Andrew Heaney. He worked into the 6th inning, 7 strikeouts to just 2 walks and just 3 hits, and kept them. Had a nice turn in the 1st inning there to get himself out of a little bit of a jam there, and then he just turned it on and was so good after that. Spores ran into a little bit of some Punch and Judy reliever luck, I mean, he got him out. He got those 2 outs real quick in the 6th inning. Went back out for the 7th, and a couple of weak hits. A couple. They were hoping that Spores would be that guy that would sure that 7th inning up, but and then Latz, you can't throw a 3-2 change up at the zone like that.
85 miles an hour.
Yeah, that was there was
Yandy, bro.
There was no fade on that changeup at all. And
Yandy Diaz is an elite professional hitter. This guy, man, like I love to watch that guy hit. I mean, he's fantastic. He's a guy I love on my team, and you cannot make mistakes against guys like that.
Yeah, no, and 3-2, I mean, maybe the idea was right to throw a changeup, but the location was crap.
I will say this, though. You know what I am happy about? I'm not. I mean, of course, you're never happy to see Yandy Diaz take, Jake Latz deep in the 7th inning and get us in the 7th inning curse or whatever you want to call it keeps going. But, at least, it wasn't DeLuca, or like it wasn't
that guy that was
pitcher or like at least it was an all-star this time.
That kid Jackson that was catching for him yesterday that was hitting 66 with 265 on base.
Yeah, at least it wasn't him.
Yeah, like at least that wasn't the guy. At least it was Yandy, an all-star, a guy that's played baseball in his career. Yeah, no, 100%. The Rangers did a good job of keeping Paredes from killing them all weekend. And, man, like I felt like every time the Rangers were in a jam, Jose Siri came up and he just bailed them right out almost all weekend long. So God bless you, Jose Siri. He looks like he's like Leody Tavares, but like cocky. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like at least Leody's kind of like a humble dude, and like when he's struggling, you don't want to hate him so much, like because he's a humble guy. But Jose Siri looks like the type of dude when he's in the run that he's in right now, there is not one person in that organization that likes him.
Yeah. Well, and he's a talented ball player, but
very talented.
Just streaky as heck. Now
so the elephant in the room on Saturday, the big Marcus Simeon home run. Marcus Simeon's been in a hell of a funk here recently, and it seemed like, the moment they needed him the most, there he was again, though.
And of all innings, it was the
The
seventh inning.
seventh inning, yeah, like on the back end of just
Comeback of the set, like a
it
comeback.
feels like
in
the
seventh.
season's falling apart there in the top half of that sixth inning, where you're like, oh, this is another winnable game, and the Rangers, and this was another one of those games that early on the Rangers needed a big hit and they didn't get it, and they kind of, they had the 2 runs, which was nice to get off of Taj Bradley, because he's pitching pretty well right now. So they got those runs off Bradley. You're trying to make them stick for Heaney, and the 7th inning comes and does what the 7th inning does to the Rangers every damn night almost. But then bottom half of the 7th, big shout to Tavares, right? He got that walk that scored the run. Yeah, he got that walk.
He got on there. He's the one that I want to say he either got a walk or a base hit.
But led off the inning, got on base. Kisner got sorted twice in a row. Did you see that? Like, ball, that 2-seamer flew in on him, and he didn't even have a chance. In 2-0 counts, he got sorted twice in a row and ended up striking out. And then Ornelas, an 0 for 3 is going to happen to Ornelas occasionally.
But 3 more hits from 7, 8, 9 in this game.
Yes, and
that's the main thing. That's the main thing. And like I mentioned earlier, 0 hits right now, and up to this point from 7, 8, 9 in Tampa. From the Tampa.
And another thing, they got an RBI from Kisner in the 8 hole too. So, but then Simeon, the big home run got him one. And
of all the time, the 7th inning has been just the kind of the worst, and you sneak out of one the game before, then it comes back and you get bit in this game. But to see them come in and really show again, these are things that are almost like a story, something you'd write in a story, where the night before they barely squeeze out of that 7th inning. This time you get the heartbreaking homer from Yandy to get, to flip the lead. And then Simeon comes back out, your biggest, probably your second best player on the team.
And the guy that's just been struggling mightily.
And the guy that needed it, and he comes out. So again, we're all in the feels, man. I am in this game because of all that we've been through this season.
And you got good stuff from Robertson. You got good stuff from Yates. And, man, the Rangers were able to put a game that they probably should have lost.
Right.
A game that they should have won, that they probably should have lost, that they ended up winning.
Yeah. And it was one of those games where you could tell, the announcers were excited. The team was excited. It felt like a win, like a real win.
And let me say this for Jake Latz.
Mm-hmm.
If you took all the relievers in the Rangers organization and you put their numbers just up, and you didn't put names on them, you would look at Jake Latz and you would be like, this is one of the better pitchers in this Rangers bullpen. But he's had a little bit of struggle these last couple of outings. Before that, he was good. He needs a day. He got his day on Sunday. We'll see what happens Monday in Anaheim. And, but again, Jake Latz, I'm not saying that he's closed down, stop ace relief pitcher, but I'm saying that if you looked at his numbers and put them against everybody else in the Rangers lineup or in the Rangers bullpen, they look a lot closer to David Robertson than Brock Burke.
Well, and I'll also say this, Jake Latz, no matter what, he has not been a problem with this team this year. And he's been a GOAT in that 7th inning, along with, with a handful of other relievers. It's not just, and I'm really hard on,
Leclerc has had trouble there. Robertson
I'm hard on Leclerc, but it's not just Leclerc. everybody's had trouble. It's historic right now.
It's the 7th inning.
And then let's not forget, this is Jake Latz's first big league stint,
the rookie,
and so I don't have a lot of beef with him as of yet. So far so good. No. Let's talk about, so what I thought was really interesting about Sunday was
quick Saturday, to put a quick bow on it. Jonathan Hernandez gets the win. He's now 2-0. Kevin Kelly gets the loss. He is 2-1 with a 3.72 ERA, and Yates lowers that ERA to .086 on his 13th save.
So funny that a guy comes in, gets literally one out, and gets the
win. Yeah, well, I mean, most of the
so
time.
Weird.
Well, that was a big out that Jonathan Hernandez had, because after that home run, remember, he had that little dinker down the first baseline that he should have just picked up and tagged him, and then he missed it. So Jonathan Hernandez coming in and getting that out to get that thing through it, I think that ends up being, it's big, and he got rewarded for it for sure.
Yeah. So Sunday, just to kind of set the tone, like when I went to bed, or when I was, got up and, coming home from church and starting to think about this game, and really even after the game yesterday, or day before on Saturday night, in my mind, part of me was like, look, man, like we can't be like content with this series win and just go out and just not win on Sunday, and just kind of tank one, or just, if we win, cool. That was kind of my mindset in that regard. And my hope was that the Rangers would do the same. We're going to the All-Star break. Like, guys are going to get time to rest. Like, this is not the time to rest. This is the time, in my mind, and I'm not Bruce Bochy, so therefore, what do I know? But Rangers go out there and roll out their A-plus lineup.
Well, not
everybody, they throw their stopper.
In
they got their stopper on the hill in Eovaldi. They didn't push his start back. Rangers came out all guns blazing, and Rangers scored runs in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 9 innings on Sunday, and really kind of come out. And I feel like, you hope that this is kind of a statement game. You'd like to think that this Tampa series can be a kind of a bookmark. And really, it has to be. Like, if this isn't the turning point for the season, this is the point where we go, hey, this was the series we hoped was the turning point, or we say this was the turning point for this.
Well, this is the one number that we've been talking about a whole lot on this show tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Rangers 7, 8, and 9 were 7 for 14 with 7 RBIs and a walk.
Yep.
So that's what you're looking for. That's what you're trying to get out of that bottom half of the order. Tavares has been on fire lately. He's hitting the ball hard, even in the at-bats that he doesn't get a hit. And then that's not to include the 9 hits that they had 4 through 6 today. And then the big hit of the big hits was the 2-3 run home run from Corey Seager. He had a couple of hits today, drove in 3. Jankowski had a couple of big hits today where he hasn't been very good lately. Today was kind of like a big coming out party for him a little bit. Just had the infield in that first at bat and drove it up the middle. And I think Lytle, I think he thought that ball was hit harder than it was, and he kind of he just whiffed on it. Like when it was coming back up the middle, I think he thought it was hit harder than it was, and then when he whiffed on it, it made its way up the into center field to score a couple of runs there. And then he had that ball that they were trying to let roll foul, and he just kind of ran by everybody, run scores, and he gets 3 RBIs out of it. Grossman had a solo home run and a walk with the bases loaded for 2 RBIs there for Grossman. Derek Hill had a hit and an RBI, and then Tavares had the 3 hits. And then in the middle of that lineup, Langford and Heim went 8 for 10 with a couple of 3 RBIs, and then Lowe was 1 for 4 with a walk. And Smith was 1 for 5. The only guy that didn't have a hit today was Marcus Semien, but he did walk and score a run. And Nate was Nate. I mean, he gave up the home run. He wasn't very happy about it. And he did the same thing.
That number 9 guy, that Caballero, I mean, he's a good ball player.
He's not exactly, like that. He isn't exactly the worst hitter.
No, he's a good ball player, brother. He's a pretty good ball player. I mean, it's not like he's a .66 batting average guy. This was the first time all weekend that 7, 8, 9 or 8 or like 7, 8, 9 did anything but
No one
that's
else
also
did.
nobody else did anything.
Yeah,
That was all they got.
Yandy Diaz had a hit, and Brandon Lau had a hit. But other than that, the only other hits, the Rortvit, the kid that caught for him, he had a couple of hits, and then Caballero had had the home run.
Homer,
But other
yeah.
than that, the Rangers just give up 5 hits on the day. The 2 hits on the 2-run home run, but Eovaldi no walks, Grant Anderson no walks, and they
Look
had
better.
8 Ks combined. So Grant Anderson, great for him to get some confidence, get that ERA under 10.
Yeah, well, Eovaldi, first of all, the 7 innings was just what the doctor ordered for that bullpen with Yates and Robertson going 2 days in a row. Also gives the whole bullpen pretty much, aside from Anderson, the day off, and he did it with 88 pitches, man. Like that was it. Just the stats. I don't know, man. It was again kind of like just what the doctor ordered, and in a game where the runs got out of hand early. It's nice to see him stay focused and not go out there and just roll over, but yet you could tell he was pitching to contact once the lead started getting up there. But this is how you pitch to contact. You're not out there giving up 5 runs. You're still keeping the ball in play, but at the same time, you're keeping the pitch count down. Just a veteran, man, and everything that could go right in many ways did go right. But I also think like the Rangers, did a lot to help themselves in this game as well. Like they were not, there was nothing passive about this squad today. Like they were out there. They ran Lytle or little Lytle, whatever. They ran him through it, and really they didn't let up. Like Armstrong went out there for an inning through 33 pitches. So I mean, they were working them. Even Clevenger.
11.
Go ahead.
11 2-out runs this weekend, too.
Mm-hmm.
What has been the biggest problem, it seems like, for the Rangers all season has been getting that hit with runners in scoring position with 2 outs, and they got to have a hit, and they hadn't been able to get that. 11 runs scored this weekend on a weekend where you scored. I mean, Friday night, all 3 runs were scored with 2 outs. Saturday, all 4 runs were scored with 2 outs. And Sunday, they scored 6 of their runs with 2 outs. Also, the Rangers had 10 hits with runners in scoring position Sunday. 10 for 22 is going to win a lot of ball games. You get 22 guys in scoring position, you better win the effing game. But, as far as putting this little bow tie on it, because we're running up against it here.
Well, I want to make one quick statement. We got quick, and we didn't have to talk about it. I just got to make it. What do you make of Wyatt Langford batting 4th today, and then coming out and getting 4 hits, batting 4th?
God bless him.
Batting cleanup.
God bless him. Do it every night, kid. I love it. Eovaldi gets the win, 6-3, drops that ERA down to 3.10. Zach Lytle, who was with the Rangers at spring training 2 years ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
3-6, 4.44 ERA, gets the loss. Rangers win 13-2. They pound out 19 hits yesterday. So Rangers pulled a 42-48. They're 6 games under 500, 6 games back. So one more 6 and we'll find a real number.
Right. Well, we'll love it. We love it. We love it. John Gray goes out against some guy named Daniel for Los Angeles.
Davis Daniel. He's a 27-year-old right-hander, 6'1", 190. He's only thrown 2 games this year. He does have 11 strikeouts in 13 innings and a sub-1 whip.
Love it. Love it. Well, hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. We're going to call it a day. A lot of fun, a lot of emotion, a lot of dynamic on the show today. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to check out that website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
One word.
You can also check out our exclusive content down on the farm with the boys. We cover all things Rangers minor league. You can check us out on social media, TX Rangers WTB. For the 300-pound animal, this is your boy Kev. We are Texas Rangers with the boys. We're signing out. See you tomorrow.